So this is just wild to me. So there was a study done last year that surveyed hundreds of countries, and writing, out of all the types of professions that are out there, was listed as the dream job for 75 countries, comprised of hundreds of thousands of Google searches that was done during the study, and writing came up on top. And it's so strange to me that it comes out on top compared to the, what is also called like the most respected careers out there. So I'm going to dig into that, the kind of psychology into it, getting into some of the stats here in this video. It's very, very interesting considering all the stuff that's going on online and in the news right now concerning jobs and the job market and everything like that. So stick around, we're going to talk about it. So 2023 Business Insider did a worldwide survey based off of Google searches at the time. So 75 countries, okay, comprised of 800,000 Google searches listed writer as being their dream career. And I'm not surprised, okay? I mean, I'm a writer. I love to write. I'm making this channel because I love to talk about all things writing. So it's really no surprise to me. But it's a big boulder to push up the hill. I mean, writing, unless you're a unicorn, or, J.K. Rowling or Stephen King or somebody, it's probably not going to make you millions. It may not even let you make pay the rent or pay the electricity or put a roof over your head. You're probably still going to have a day job if you're a writer. So it's really interesting to me that writing, 75 countries, you got India, New Zealand, Philippines, South Africa, and 71 other countries are saying that writing is their dream career. This is really unusual to me. Okay, I'm from the US, right? And actually in the US, being a pilot was listed as the dream job. Also, I think in Canada as well, if I'm not mistaken, and I'll check into that. But I'm gonna throw the chart up here so you can take a look at it. And, it's kind of a heat map that just shows in all the countries that participated in this survey. I think it's, really most of the countries around the world. Pilot is, kind of a North American thing, apparently. And writing, it seems to take up a huge chunk of the world in terms of what people, kind of consider their ideal dream job. And I mean, this is just fascinating to me because, like I said, like tangibly, you're probably not gonna come out on top as a writer, right? It's just not gonna happen. And I think these people in all these countries, they understand that and they realize that. But it kind of cuts to the core of then what are our kind of needs versus desires, and it gets into the core of really just human psychology, at a really fundamental level. But before we get into the psychology of this all, it's good to also analyze the other side of it. Okay, so when we say dream job, right? It's it's aspirational. It's something that you want to do. It's think of it. When you think of dream, you think of less, of you kind of have to cut the rest of that phrase out, and job, those two words almost like shouldn't come together. You have a job because you got to pay the bills, right? You don't dream about going to your 9 to 5, or maybe you do, and if you do, that's awesome, and kudos to you, and I'd like to shake your hand. But for the rest of us, we probably can't do that. And for the rest of us, there's another sort of echelon of, career work, of things that, we do a 9 to 5, that's going to pay the bills, but also give us a sense of fulfillment as well. And those careers, and actually, I'm just going to call them for what they are, because I mean, other actual studies and surveys have been done. Actually, one of them from the World Economic Forum, of one of the most respected careers that are out there. And most of them, and there was a couple different studies I looked at, and they were all called, the same thing, most respected careers out there. Okay, so that sort of lines up, those two words line up more neatly for me, right? Respected career, right? Those make sense, right? And they're kind of what you expect, and they're all kind of based, more or less kind of in the sciences, or there's a civil aspect to a lot of them as well. And for most of these lists, doctor, lawyer, engineer, teacher, police officer, soldier, scientist, nurse. In a lot of the lists, those are generally speaking, what you're going to expect to find out on top. And that lines up. I mean, because those careers are, they're decently paying jobs. You can expect to be able to support yourself and your family. They are well respected from the perspective that, they represent an almost, fundamental level of how our civilization was really built. Like you can't really build a civilization without, doctors and engineers and teachers and soldiers. And, there's sort of like a baseline level of what makes up a society at a basic fundamental level. It's interesting to me that, writers, they didn't make that list. They didn't make the most respected list, but they make the dream job list. They come out really high on top on the dream job list. So getting into the psychology of it, and I don't know, I'm not a psychologist. I don't claim to be. I did very basic levels of research for me, but when you compare these types of things, you really have to get to like a kind of core level of human psychology, of how we think, how we stack our needs versus desires. And if you heard of the American psychologist Abraham Maslow, the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, look it up. I'll post a picture here. It's a pyramid. It's a very simple construct of at the very bottom you have your physiological needs, so food, water, shelter, things of that nature. And as you progressively go up the list, it gets to more things that you need less of, but not like you need to breathe all the time. Like, so that's at the base level, right? So as you go up, it's things that maybe you're not necessarily going to encounter all the time. But if you want to live a fulfilling life, as you go up, you encounter, love and empathy. And at the very, very top, safety is another example. At the very, very top is self-actualization. And in that little block of the pyramid, the triangular, top of that pyramid, creativity is one of the factors that comprises that upper echelon. So to reach a level of self-actualization, you need to have a level of creativity in your life, of inspiration, of being able to make something, and oftentimes doing a 9 to 5, it kind of makes sense, right? Doing your most respected career, and they are respected. They're wonderful things to do for society, and you're going to get your physiological needs met. You're going to get your safety needs met, because you're going to be able to afford a standard of living and live in a house and make sure you're able to afford food for your families and things like that. But there's going to be a piece missing. There's going to be a piece of that psychological pie or pyramid, missing from your life. And it's going to come in the form of creativity. And another way to frame it from sort of a psychoanalytic perspective, and another psychologist comes to mind, Sigmund Freud, with the id, ego, and the superego. The sort of balancing of those three is another way to look at this equation. So again, looking at kind of our fundamental, baseline level human needs, kind of instinctively based, that's the id. You see a big chocolate cake, you just want to eat it all, right? that's just instinctive, you know. And then, you know, the super ego on the other side of that is saying, nope, nope, I can't do that. You know, I'm on a diet. It's going to throw off my health. I'm going to feel like crap afterwards. And then the ego in the middle is like, well, you know, kind of playing devil's advocate, you know, trying to balance the two, right? You know, maybe we could just have like a little bit, like a little bite. That wouldn't hurt too much. Then we'd keep with the diet and we'd still get a little bit. So it's kind of getting like those, you know, most respected versus, you know, dream level sort of jobs or careers, you know, they also cut to that level of psychology of, you know, we have needs that we need met, right? Like food, water, shelter, things like that, physiological needs, safety needs. You know, that's the id. You know, we need to satisfy that id. And then we also have sort of higher level needs too, like intellectual needs that we, you know, we need to scratch that itch. We need to sometimes create something or build something, you know, and it's so, you know, I have a 9-to-5 and I like it. It's a good job. You know, I'm able to provide for my family and that's a wonderful thing. But I don't actually get to like create any tangible thing, right? And so that's why I, you know, I do woodworking on the side, and I write, you know, and those two things kind of scratch that itch for me. So I guess, you know, kind of what we learned is you can't bucket everybody into the same slice of people. You know, we all have needs, we all have desires, we all have to balance those within ourselves, and they all manifest in ways that are different from one human being to the other. And you can't knock anybody for their individual choices. You know, like in the US, apparently we like to be pilots, you know, and in India and the Philippines and New Zealand and, you know, 72 other countries, they like to be writers. So I'd like to come out and visit you guys sometime because I think, you know, we get along pretty well. Thanks guys for watching this video. Please like and subscribe if you'd like to see more content like this, and I'll see you back at it in a little bit. Thanks.